Evening, everyone. Sheepdog Smokey here, and let's get into this. I'm actually not going to read this one. This is one where I want to talk. I may pull out parts of it, but just and for those who are watching this later, this is Saturday evening. It's about 20 till 10, and while out today running my errands, I of course heard about the Poway shooting at the Poway synagogue, and a couple of things kind of struck me. One, the police in charge, the sheriff's departments, and all those who were giving uh, press conferences did an amazing job, because I heard a lot of "we're not going to discuss that while it's being investigated," or a lot of "we don't know that yet." One reporter even specifically asked, "What was the motivation?" And the officer giving the press conference says, "We don't know that yet." And that's the kind of press conference that should be given. Unfortunately, the media is well known for their penchant for embellishing on answers they give, uh, such, such as I've seen in the past. While no statement will be given, it is obvious that this was a conservative out to harm the liberal agenda, or things like that. We've seen stretches that are proven to be false, such as Russiagate. And the media never really they never play or show a transcript of the press conference, which makes it look like they were given bad information, and they never apologize. You can see here that the person had this supposedly this Q&A with himself. Says he's not a Trump supporter. You come down further, and he says he's not a conservative. You come down further, and we actually see the New York Times here publishing crap like this. And the problem we have is not conservatives. It's not liberals. It is sociopaths and psychopaths, really. And unfortunately, we're seeming to see more and more of them, because well, at least more and more sociopaths. In a nutshell, and I'm not a psychologist. If you want a better explanation of sociopathy, go to someone who is well studied. But a psychopath is someone who really doesn't know what they're doing. You look at a psychopath, and you could say it would be basically they've had a break. They're not the same person. Whereas a sociopath, they know right from wrong, and they either choose to ignore that, or they have a perversion of what is right and wrong in their mind. They believe what is wrong is right and what is right is wrong, or they just don't care. One example that actually I'm working on something with a friend, you look at comics and Doctor Doom in Marvel specifically. He is a sociopath. He is fully functioning in society, runs his own country. His people do some semi well, but he rules with an iron fist, quite literally in most cases, which is definitely not good. And he knows that his people are oppressed to a good nature, and he knows that it's not really right, but he doesn't change. This person, I really can't say sociopath or psychopath, but watch for the media to make this a white supremacist attack. Watch for them to connect it to Charlottesville, and again to lie about how Donald Trump defended white supremacists in Charlottesville, where they ignore his next statement where he specifically singles out neo-Nazis and white supremacists and says they are horrible people. Expect all of this to be twisted to be an attack on Donald Trump, because someone who hated Donald Trump and would never support him did something illegal. Moving on, I heard a report, actually two of them. The first was that the attack had an AR style rifle used in the attack. The next report was found in his vehicle when he surrendered. Well, one, which was it? Did he use the AR style rifle, or did he just have it in his car? If I remember correctly, when we had Newtown with the school, the shooter had an AR-15 in his car but used a pistol. So of course the AR-15 being in his car possessed him with a demon from the ninth circle of hell, so that he left it in his car and didn't use it but used a pistol. I don't know why there is a focus Actually, I do know why, but I don't know why more people don't see it. There's a focus on firearms for a specific reason. And you'll notice that the people who focus on it are guarded by men with firearms. Okay? You look at Kamala Harris, you look at Bernie Sanders, you look at Cory Booker, you look at Eric Swalwell, you look at Warren, Feinstein, Waters. Every one of them, all the Democrats in Congress, are guarded by men with military grade weapons, not military looking weapons. 24/7. You look at Robert Francis O'Rourke. You look at Gavin Newsom, Bill de Blasio, Governor Cuomo. All of them guarded by men with a lot of guns. But we're to give up our guns because evil people use them wrongly. In California, there are some of the most strict gun laws in the country. This person was apparently 19 years old. Now, I've not found concrete information. I would love to have someone from California confirm, because I believe it's a very recently passed law that raises the age to purchase a rifle or shotgun from 18 to 21. Of course, handgun purchase is already 21. If that's already taken effect, this was not a legally purchased weapon. No firearm would be, which means the law failed. If it was legally purchased, it means that this person has never had a conviction that makes them a prohibited possessor. People love to point to Sutherland Springs and Las Vegas, where they see people using AR-style firearms, and say, well, those were purchased legally, and the reason is the system that is used to track and monitor prohibitions on possessing weapons is broken. Thousands of fugitives from justice were removed from NICS under Barack Obama, not under Donald Trump, as Kamala Harris and others would tell you, so that now they are no longer prohibited possessors according to the background check. They are according to the law. Had the Sutherland Springs shooter been properly reported to the government as having a dishonorable discharge, he would not have been able to buy any firearm at all in the state of Texas, but he wasn't. The man from Las Vegas never had any convictions, built up his arsenal over decades apparently, and then, and only then, used it. There is never going to be any possibility that anyone and everyone who has any inkling of evil desire can be prevented from doing so. Look at the UK, where firearms ownership is so restricted, they now are calling for a ban on knives. And also, for those that are not banned, GPS tracking of the knives they let you have. There was a photo I retweeted several days ago of a Thomas the Tank Engine silverware set that had a big sticker, no ID, no purchase, because it had a butter knife in it. There was a joke that went around that, well, they'll just start carrying fish. That way they look like fishmongers and their knives are legal. The point is, someone bent on committing an evil act is going to do it, one way or another. They're going to shoot, they're going to stab, they're going to bludgeon, they're going to run you over with a car. We don't see people calling, or at least in this country, we don't see them calling for bat control, or hammer control, or pressure cooker control, or truck control, or car control. They only go for gun control. And there's a very simple reason behind this. Firearms are the key to opposing a tyrannical government. You look at the 1770s, when King George's forces came to Lexington and Concord and ordered the American colonists to disarm. They refused, and ultimately we had the shot heard around the world that sparked the U.S. Revolution, the American Revolutionary War. Years later, and many people dead, the Americas were now an independent country. Years later, they elected their first president, George Washington, in 1789. We finally ratified the Constitution and its amendments, and we continued from there. It's clear history that only people who are disarmed can be ruled. When you look at Rome, when you look at the British Empire in its infancy, only the very high and mighty in society were allowed to be armed. Only the centurions and only the senators and those they allowed had proper weapons. When you come to Britain, the farmers had pitchforks and garden hoes and such, whereas the knights, under the command of the king and loyal only to him, had swords and spears and maces. Not until the United States was the right to be armed to defend yourself from criminals, wild animals, and tyrants enshrined in a founding document. And the liberals cannot stand that every time they try to just ban guns, the Constitution stops them. This is why we're seeing them try to pack the courts. It's why we're seeing liberal blue states pass laws that will make it virtually impossible to flip the state back to red because ballot harvesting and a state Supreme Court in, I believe, Minnesota, or it may have been Wisconsin, ordering the state legislature to redraw all district lines. It's a matter of time before this country crumbles. And when it does, you'll have independent nations with places like California that are ruled with an iron fist because the peons don't care that they're being ruled. They want peace, they want security. And you'll have independent nations with places like Texas, where sure, there may be crime and there may be violence, but it's minimal because its citizens are all allowed to defend themselves however they deem necessary. It's very fitting that there is a quote from one of the American founders: those who trade essential liberty for temporary uh, security deserve neither, and soon lose both. Think on that. And I've talked long enough, so let me know what you think in the comments. As always, keep it civil. We learn only from debate. We do not learn from argument. As always, make sure to like, share, and comment, as well as to subscribe and activate notifications so that you are among the first to know of all new content as it is posted. Until next time, everyone, have a wonderful day and a great week.